Hi, everyone. My name is Daniel Rodic. If you don't know me, I'm the head of market development at Clearco and host of Founders Live. I'm super excited to be speaking to a new audience, hopefully that's watching today, as I'm incredibly excited to announce that Clearco is officially launching in Netherlands as of this morning. As you can see here, we were just featured in De Telegraaf. And so to anyone who's joining in, around lunchtime, whether it's in Netherlands or around Europe, welcome to the show and welcome to Clearco. A little bit about us. We are the largest e-commerce investor in the world, having deployed over 1.6 billion euros across 5,000 entrepreneurs. And today you're going to get to meet two of our newest portfolio companies we are excited to support their growth in the Dutch market, and you'll meet them in a moment. A bit on why Netherlands. Nearly 1/4 of the 68,000 businesses created last year were companies in the e-commerce category. So that's over 16,000 new founders we are excited to help. We're excited to invest over 100 million euros into Dutch founders and like the companies like the ones you'll meet today. So I encourage you to visit clearco.com and we will be able to help you access funding for your business, or if you want to just comment below, someone from our team will be in touch with you. So without further ado, I'd like to meet our first new portfolio company. Let me just add him to the stream. Hey, how are you?
Hi, Daniel. I'm very good. And you?
Good, doing very well. Thanks so much for joining us today. How's your morning been going so far?
Quite good, quite busy, and I'm very glad that I can have a talk with you here along LinkedIn. I hope the technique is good because the technique fell away a bit, but I hope it's our viewers can watch and hear us very good.
Yeah, I think I have my little backup here on my phone, and we can see us here, so everything should be good. I was trying to think about what kind of comedy show was I going to do when I saw your screen disappear, but you're back, so it's all good. So
improvise a bit, no problem.
Exactly. So I would just love to have everyone learn a bit more about yourself. If you introduce yourself and just tell us a bit more about. I'm actually curious, before we start on day clocks, like where did your career start? Where was early life for you? And then eventually, how did we get to building the company you're building today?
All right. Well, let me explain a bit, Daniel, about my professional background till so far. I worked 27 years in corporate environments, in big companies, most of the time in management and executive jobs, telecommunication and in building technology. I worked in those 27 years with a lot of pleasure, but also especially the last years, I had also the feeling of missing something, a bit of that's how to put it, the entrepreneurial challenge to have a business or to grow a business of your own. But as I said, I worked with a lot of pleasure over there. But at a certain moment, we got a conflict within the company about the direction, a disagreement about the direction of the division I was heading. And at that moment, it was better to split. Well, for sure, that was the moment to do the other things I wanted to do. So then what I did is that I said, well, I'm going to do several other things for the coming 3 to 7 years. You can't look much further in life, I think. And one of them, what I did is I started looking for startups. Why a startup? Because, well, I'm not the one who can make from 0 1. I know myself a bit, but I'm able to make from 1, 3, or 5, or 10, and if possible. So the second thing is I wanted to go in a new market, also to challenge myself. So not telecommunication or building technology, but a new market. Thirdly, I would like to have it very social relevance, that it is good for society and the problems in society. And fourth, that it is also a scalable issue. If you want to start with something, it should be scalable, growing, and so it should be something which is in a growing market. Well, that's actually the point when I got into contact with Dayclocks. Cool. Yeah, Dayclocks was already founded let's say around 5 years before I joined. two founders, and they had their ideas. I will tell a bit more about Dayclocks later on. But I'm very glad they are still on board, and those two founders, and they're still part of our team. So
that's amazing. And the part I'm really fascinated about in your story that you told to Haran on our team is, at this stage in your career, you're so incredibly experienced in technology. You've worked at some amazing companies. Despite what happened at your last job, why not just go to find another corporate job? Being an entrepreneur, building a small company is one of the hardest things you can do. And why decide to do that now in your life?
Well,
Hey, we just lost you for a second, but hopefully we'll have you come back. Hey, Michel, I think your Wi-Fi just cut out for a second, so hopefully if you can hear me, we can go through the answer once again.
We're losing contact.
Yeah, you're still cutting out. Maybe if you just try to rejoin the stream. Michel will be back with us in a moment. But I think really what's quite interesting about what he has built is if you kind of see some of the news that he shared with us. He left his corporate job, and at the age of 52, Michel acquired Dayclocks to support people with aging parents. And so that's one of the amazing companies that we're incredibly happy to back, of really helping fund his dreams at Dayclocks. And so when I think about why are we entering this market, it's to really enable founders to impact the world. So if you look at, we'll pull up Dayclocks here as we're waiting back for Michel to join. Oh, I think he's back. Hey, you're back.
Oh, I'm back again. We had some disturbance, but now I think it's going well now.
Yes, the quality looks great. So we were just talking a little bit more about why you decided to do this versus take another corporate job.
What I said is I learned a lot in the corporate world, but I also had the needs and the wants to start our own company or to grow it. And at the age of 52, that should be young enough to start a new company and to grow it. And especially for the coming 3-7 years and afterwards, probably have maybe another new company, a new challenge. So,
and so I'm curious, what was it sounds like you've gotten to know the founders over some time, but do you remember what was the first day on the job for you at Dayclocks? Like, what was that day like?
Well, it's around 4 years ago, and what I saw was a product which has a lot of opportunities and a lot of scalable things that can work very good. I will maybe explain a bit what is Dayclocks, because otherwise people won't know what I'm talking about.
That'd be great.
Dayclocks is in fact software to support people in helping their aging parents. So who are buying now Dayclocks? There are people between 35 and 65 years of age who are worrying about their father or mother because they are forgetting things. They are getting isolated, but also are technically not able or don't want to use the modern stuff like laptops, smartphones, and so on. So how does it work? You put a Dayclock on the sideboard, you see it behind me, on the sideboard of the elderly woman or a man, and the son or daughter can put by the smartphone or laptop messages and photos on it, and they can have a video conference on it. So they together, and that way you can give and offer structure and connection to the elderly and aging people. Why is that the structure? Because you have got all the time issues involved. Secondly, because you can put reminders on it. Mama, don't forget to take your pills, for example. But also the connection part is also that you have the opportunity that grandchildren put photos on it. Hi, grandma, greetings from Australia, for example. And secondly, you have the opportunity with video calling with contact. And what makes us differentiating from other solutions in this field of area is that on the one hand, you have all the kind of clocks where you have only the time features. Secondly, you have also the elderly tablets and computers and so on, but they're becoming most of the time too complex. And what we differentiate ourselves is what we're saying, our assumption, it should be not more difficult than telling time. So you just, as an elderly person, you just have to watch the clock, you see the messages, you have to tick one thing, and then you have a video conference. So it should not be more difficult than telling time. And that's really what our assumption is, and what we also is very important. Especially, I worked, what I said, in most of the technical companies, and then you saw quite often that everything that technically is possible, that you try to use it, but then it becomes too unuser friendly and too difficult for the group we've got.
No,
gives that you a picture about day clocks, what it is, more or less?
Yeah, no, I think it's an amazing product. I feel like I need to get one of these for, hopefully you ship to Canada sometime soon, and I'll have to set it up for my parents.
We love to, and with the cooperation with Clearco, we should do that. That's an opportunity.
and so on kind of your ambitions for the business, I'm curious, how did you hear about Clearco, and what ultimately made you decide to come work with us and Haran and the team?
Yeah, well, what I noticed, and what you said, there is a very big difference between a startup and a corporate company. What I saw when we were starting and growing our business, you are very vulnerable as a startup, because for sales you have one person, marketing one person, service. So every time you need to be more redundant, and that's the reason that we said we want to grow with partners. For example, the last years we have hired people on board where we said this is for the coming years. For example, we became more and more an e-commerce company, and we needed a new website, and that was also the reason that we said the people who are buying our website is not just paying every hour. No, they must be part of our team. So they are now also simplifying. I'm very glad to have them on board. It's an e-commerce company, and they are now also shareholder within Dayclocks, because we need to grow, and that's also the reason how to build up that organization. And then if we want to grow further on, we need, and we are now doing business in Netherlands, Germany, Switzerland, and Belgium. We want to go to other countries, for example, to Canada. And then we need a lot of marketing expenditures. And that's also that we said, well, at this moment, we don't need that amount of money because we can do it from our own revenues and so on. But the coming years, we want to grow exponential. And that's also the reason that we say, well, we need a bank, an investor, but also thinks a bit the same. And that was when I got in contact with Clearco and had several talks with you, that there were three issues which I liked. One was that really it should be a partner for the coming years. I need more and more marketing expenditures, and you just invest in companies that want to grow in marketing expenditures. Secondly, you worked a lot more flexible than, let's say, the normal banking to get in contact and to go ahead. And thirdly, that you have also kind of international services. We want to go from 4 to 10 or 12 countries, let's say it, in the coming years. That combination made that I also search for a partner for the coming years, also on investment and in the financial area.
That's amazing. And so with the funding and investment that we've made, what are you going to do next? What's the most immediate project you're working on?
We have the last years we have professionalized our product, and we're still doing that, of course. Every time we have now some new let's say features and functionalities, but what's the most important thing is that we now how can we grow? What I said, we are now not from 1, we are now at 4 or 5. How can we go to 20? So what we need, and of course the Googles and the Facebook are getting more rich from it. We need more expenditures over there, but also to go to the Anglo-Saxon world. We have 3 websites, a German, a Dutch one, and an English one. But on the English one, we're just starting. and to starting and create awareness about our brand in UK, America, and of course Canada. I think it's very important, and then we need that marketing exposure. So we will mainly spend money from Clearco to that kind of stuff.
Amazing. One question which I didn't think about when we were preparing, but I thought it would be relevant. We have a very loyal watcher of this show, actually from the UK, Kim. Hello, Kim. Thanks for tuning in at lunchtime. And she is great to see a great European founder. The question I'd love to finish on, and Rasmus, I see you in the room. We'll get to you in a moment. But really, the question I'd love to ask you to finish off on is for. She has just left employment a few weeks ago to devote herself to her new business that she's trying to run full time. So I'm curious, having done that with Day Clocks a few years ago, do you have any advice for Kim as to, how she should approach going from the corporate world into starting a business full time?
Well, I got quite some experience about it, so I would love to have a chat with her sometimes to talk about it and, to exchange experiences and so on.
Amazing. Kim, well, you can find him on LinkedIn and connect. I'll make an introduction over LinkedIn, and hopefully we will make some new friends through these LinkedIn lives and these founders lives that we host. So, with that, I know we're running up on time. It's lunchtime for you. What are you going to have for lunch today?
I think probably a quite typical Dutch lunch with bread and cheese and so on. And typically Dutch. Some other countries they have warm food, but we have cold food. So
not too bad. Not too bad. I love cheese and I love all of that. It was a couple of years ago since I was last in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. So I'm excited for the time when I can travel and we can share lunch in person. All
right.
Amazing. Well, thank you again for taking the time to join us today. I think I'll have to ping Rasmus to come back in the room. Right. But
it was a pleasure for me, Daniel. Bye. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and welcome to the Clearco family. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a great day. Bye. All right, so we're just waiting for our next guest to tune in. Rasmus, who's the CEO of Goodiebox. I'm just going to shoot him a note. I saw him in the waiting room. Thank you, Hank. I would love to have some cheese. That would make me incredibly happy. Let me just send a note to Rasmus so I can have him join in. Hey, Rasmus. We are Oh, there he is. Amazing. Hey, Rasmus, how are you?
I am good. And you can hear me and everything?
Perfect. Loud and clear.
Excellent. Hey, thanks for the invite, Daniel.
No, I'm super excited to chat with you. And I'm not sure how much Niels or Christian had shared with you, because I think it was the team at Silicon Valley Bank, who's great partners of us in the US, that introduced us.
Yes.
So incredibly excited because about 10 years ago in Toronto, me, my co-founder Ray Chow, one of my other co-founders Elena, we had built a business called Luxbox that is a very amateur version of what you've built across Europe. And I just, when I was talking and learning about the business, is like, I literally have dealt with all of those problems and everything. And it was originally a bunch of guys who were mostly running the company as well.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah, so it's all the same. But how's your morning been so far?
It's been good. The weather sucks in Denmark at the moment, but I guess that's good for business. So it's mixed emotion in that sense. And then slowly Denmark is opening up a bit more. So actually today the restaurants opened for real.
Amazing.
So you can actually go out and have a proper meal and not just do takeaway. And so it's and the kids are back to school again. And so slowly but steadily, the Copenhagen is opening up again. So that's great.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. Well, it's in Toronto. We're still trying to figure ourselves out. It'll probably be another month or so. But what's interesting today is I'll kind of load some of these and we'll get into the conversations. We have some people watching from around the Netherlands today. I think you saw earlier, Kim's calling in from the UK. So, thank you for tuning in. We also have Hank. Hank has offered to, he's offered to send me some cheese because I really like cheese. So thank you so much. I will send you my address. Please ship it. I'll eat all of it. But I'm super thrilled to talk to you, and I really want to get into the story of GoodieBox and your international expansion, and because I'm literally on the same journey with what we're doing at Clearco.
Yes.
But I wanted to start before GoodieBox, and it sounded like you were, from what I read, most of your career was actually as a lawyer, if I'm not mistaken.
And that is like, if you're looking up risk adverse in the dictionary, you'll either see an accountant or a lawyer. So how did I end up in a startup company? But I was, qualified lawyer in graduating from the university in Copenhagen, and then by chance actually I ended up working with M&A. So did that at a law firm in Copenhagen, and then also did it in London at a law firm, and then I moved to one of the big Danish companies, Maersk, but also did M&A for them. So pretty far from starting and running a beauty subscription box business, but again, the legal method is that is also useful, not just for legal disputes or running a sale of or an acquisition of a company. So it did give me some good tools, and I guess it's also good to have some new perspectives on a category. So I didn't grow up my mother telling me that you can only go with Estée Lauder or Clinique, or I guess you can see that as well. So I was completely unbiased going into this category. So that worked in some sense. And then my co-founder Nikolai, he luckily he came from a marketing background, so his background and experience were a bit more relevant than my own.
Yeah, I'm curious. When you decided to actually start the business before GoodieBox, were there any other ideas you were thinking about before you decided we're going to go launch a beauty subscription box? 2012 was we launched about a year or 2 years earlier, and that was the height of subscription everything.
Absolutely, I think it's. Looking at lawyers, when at university, we all dream and work extremely hard to get into the best and biggest law firms. And then when you get in, you work extremely hard to escape. So how do you get out of those law firms then? So Nikolai, my co-founder, and I, we have actually started something else also prior to that, and a lot of great learnings, but definitely also some. Have you read Lean Startup, that book?
Yes.
Yeah. We probably did. We could have written the complete opposite book. So we ended up with our first startup together. We ended up spending 3.5 years on product development, burning like a ton of money. And then when we were finally ready to launch the product, that was in January 2009. So 4 months after Lehman Brothers. So probably the worst timing of a decade or something like that. So in some ways it worked well, but I probably got the most expensive MBA education in the world. So I needed to go back and earn some real money, not just running on a startup salary. I got 3 kids in the meantime, and both myself, but definitely also my wife. She was, that was about time to have some steady income. But Nikolai and myself, we knew this was definitely not the last company we started would start together, and then it's almost like a Christmas fairy tale. I remember one late evening at the law firm, and it was even December, right? I was reading about the founders of Birchbox, and so that was December 11th, and Nico and I, we were ping-ponging ideas all the time, and I just called him that late December evening, say, hey, this is what we're going to do, man. It doesn't require that insane upfront investment that we also did on the first investment. And we knew we wanted to create a consumer business. So even though, it's, as you just said, there's 16,000 new consumer businesses being started every year, and the chance of like really hitting a home run on that. I mean, probably 4 or 5 will actually make it big out of those 16,000. So the odds are insane. But we didn't know that at that time. But we really wanted to create a direct-to-consumer business where, I mean, wanted to treat the consumers, and we don't call our subscribers consumers, they are members. So really wanted to build a company where it's completely eye to eye, and we call Goodiebox a happiness company, not a beauty company. So in reality, we could sell everything as long as we make our members happy, and that has been the driving force since day one, and that is definitely also opposite compared to a law firm. That is
yeah, no, I can imagine. It's honestly so funny, the parallels. We had, when we ran our business, we actually renamed our team from customer service to member services, for the same reason. And so starting Goodiebox, the biggest challenge we had when we built our version of this in Canada, and you mentioned Birchbox, very funny. If you read, there's a Harvard Business School case study called Attack of the Clones. And I don't know if you remember that, but if you read in the first paragraph, you'll see a company called Loose Button that is referenced, which is our corporate name.
Excellent.
But
that was definitely Clone Wars at that time.
Oh my God. Yeah. But the hardest part for us, especially, maybe not from immediately day one, but as we scaled, was the supply side. So getting access to the product, and eventually I see models where you just buy the inventory. When we started, we didn't think we had to buy the inventory. We thought we would, hey, Lancome, you would just advertise in our box. Maybe you'd even pay us to advertise in the box. What was that first version of the box? How did you get the products, and how did you convince people, or how did you kind of build the first version?
Yes, and again, I did. I mean, as a corporate lawyer, I didn't have any street credit in this category at all. But luckily, Nikolai, my co-founder, coming from a marketing background, he had some more traction. But we did everything ourselves. The first box, and that was moonlighting, so after hours. But Nikolai's sister, she used to be editor-in-chief for one of the big fashion magazines in Denmark. So her Rodic were pretty big in that sense. So we just started from an end, and we got read about Birchbox in December 11, and then in February 12, so 2.5 months later, we actually shipped the first box to 500 members in Denmark. So so we learned from the first startup. So and that was definitely an MVP. It was literally a white box from the local baker, the local bakery, where we just and found the nail polish and some mascara and stuff to put it in. So luckily now we have like a real dedicated team who are actually beauty experts and the best at predicting the trends, and I'm really on the forefront of that, working together with our BI team and so forth. But the first Copenhagen, that's a small city compared to Toronto, and and both Nikolai and myself, we had a pretty good network, so we were reaching out and really asking a lot of favors at that time, and people were willing to also open up. One of our friends, she was editor-in-chief of Elle, and
Amazing.
they wrote a great article about us, and that really also helped. And so really pulling in favors and network from friends and family in the beginning, but much more scrappy than the first startup we made, but very faster to reach the end consumer.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I went through my own experience of that. My very, very first company was actually through an accelerator when I was still in school. It was so generous of them. It was the first year of the program, so they gave us $25,000. They introduced me to a team, like, go build a company, and I was much younger then, so I spent 9 months basically working on an idea before ever talking to customers or launching something. And
we've
all made the same mistakes early in our career. so you mentioned you got a lot of support. I'm curious, when you started GoodieBox, how did you actually fund? It sounded like you moonlighted, so it was kind of your savings, I assume, to start.
Yes.
At what point did you decide to go raise money, external money for the business?
Yeah, and I think we also, Nikolai and I, we learned from our first experience with you can have the right investors, but damn, it's also bad if you get the wrong investors. So we were funding it ourselves, and that was probably also one of the reasons why we didn't grow fast in the beginning. And I personally, I was hedging all my risk. So I was still working as a lawyer, whereas Nikolai, I mean, he put all the marbles in, so he went full time, where I was just doing my nice paycheck, and so, but only, and that definitely did limit our growth, because we could only spend first month gross margin on marketing, and as a subscription business, it's really balancing the acquisition cost against the lifetime value, and what is your CAC payback time, and all that. And we had a 1 month CAC payback time in the beginning. So we're still doubling year on year, but that's also extremely easy from a low starting point. So we were actually a 5-year-old company before we raised our the first external money. Up until that point, we have been self-financed by Nikolai and myself. So when we raised the first money, we had so much history, and we really knew our metrics, and so that was also an easier sell to the first investor. And luckily he's an amazing guy who has done a lot of direct-to-consumer subscription businesses. So that cliche with clever money, that is really fitting him. And just like you guys, Clearco, founded by founders. So all the troubles and all the hassle, all the pain points that we are facing every day, and not like a normal bank that we still run with a loss, but we can see all our cohorts are profitable. That is easier to explain to a subscription business model expert than to like a traditional banker.
100%. Well, it was literally a blast from the past when Niels was walking me through the financials, and I'm like, what's happening in November? Do you do Advent calendars? Because we did Advent calendars too. Amazing. And so you over that 5-year period, when did you start opening up new markets? Was that before you had raised external money, or after?
No, that was actually after. So we got the first investor in May 17, and then in March 18 we launched in the first international markets, being the Netherlands. So
amazing.
And we could see what we did well in Denmark. We could replicate that to the new market and actually do better than what we did in Denmark. So we could see our penetration of the target audience much faster in the Netherlands. And then based on those learnings, we launched Norway fairly soon thereafter, already in August 18. And in Norway, that was even better than the Netherlands. But Norway, that's also an amazing market. It's the only issue with Norway is it's so small. But apart from that, that's an amazing market. And then we established this dedicated new market launch team, and they were simply just fine-tuning their playbook to go into new markets. So going from 1 to 3 markets in 18, and then in 19 going from 3 to 9 markets to 9 markets. Launching 6 new markets in 2019, and with Germany being the last. And Germany, the potential in that market is bigger than the other 8 markets combined. So that is really interesting.
And this is actually you're kind of going through a lot of the details. We have Kim again with how you grew geographically, and as we were talking about the beginning, Clearco, we're also trying to launch in hopefully as many markets as you are in today. And so with your new market launch team, could you maybe go into a bit more detail as to how do you structure it? What are the responsibilities? And if I would like to build my own
Yes. No, absolutely.
I would love to learn more about it.
And I wish I could say that when we started, we were like really going approaching it from a scientific angle, but we didn't. So so it was very opportunistic, us launching in the Netherlands, and mainly driven by this amazing country manager. We have Mieke. She was running another Dutch subscription business called Bloemon, that's flowers on subscription, and she was heading their launch in Denmark, and that is how I got to know her. And she's amazing. So I mean, if you were looking at one defining moment for Goodiebox, that is not us getting the first investor in, or that is actually getting Mieke on board and spearheading that international launch into the Netherlands. If you want to look like the prototype on what is Goodiebox, what is the Goodiebox DNA, what is the talents you need to have, you'll just see a picture of Mieke. She's like spot on for that. And then later we learned, and we could start doing all kinds of indexation on how big is beauty online, what is the media cost, and how is the competitive scene look like, and spend per capita and so forth. And we have a number for that, and we have a whole indexation. But we didn't start like that at all. That was mainly driven by finding this incredible awesome person that could just, and she was running the Netherlands as it was her own startup, right? So that was really one of the key defining moments for Goodiebox, and a big part of where we are today. That is simply due to her.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, hopefully when I can travel, I assume she's still in Amsterdam now?
She's still in Amsterdam, and so our headquarters are still in Copenhagen. We are approximately 140 employees in total, the majority in Copenhagen, but we are 20 people in Amsterdam, and also 20-ish in Berlin. But Mieke, she's heading the Amsterdam office, and still doing great.
Amazing. Well, I look forward to hopefully being able to travel soon to meet her and hear the whole story. The other part I wanted to touch on with you was, the as we've mentioned, there's a lot of ups and downs, especially in this kind of business. Every month, you have to ship the box. If you can't ship the box, you have lots of issues. We were a much smaller team, and the Canadian market was quite small at the end of the day for the business. And we used to run a monthly box, but the issue was because we weren't buying inventory. You would be like, my job was to get the brands. And so I thought of myself as I had to hit 100% quota every single month on sales in terms of getting brands. Because if I didn't, we wouldn't make money, we wouldn't ship. So we switched it to a quarterly box because we needed to sleep. Were there any moments? And so the moments for us in our business was like, sometimes a brand would be like, sorry, I can't ship. Like, my production is late, so I won't get you your product in time. It's like, well, I need to ship this box next week, so you need to figure something out.
No. I mean, we have had so many near-death experiences in that sense, and I think, the real tricky part with this business model is we have a physical product, right? So it's not just a digital subscription, but we really have this physical product where you need to make sure that your inbound transport is in time. We can scale the production line, and if one product is late, now we have the we have the inventory, so we can make some substitutions. But in the early days, we didn't have a cash flow to actually have anything on inventory. So we were literally fucked if one were late. So we have had many of the same experiences for sure. Now it's easier for we are better at predicting also, and what do we need to have as a fallback. And then because we're in 9 markets now, we can also leverage that inventory risk. So if we need a product for one market, we can then maybe take it from one of the other 9 markets, and then so it's still like one big Tetris game, but it's easier in that sense. not less complicated, but definitely easier.
Yeah, different challenges when you're at
Yeah.
scale. Just, I don't know if there's a story that you can think of. Was there a memorable kind of I guess a formative story of like, hey, like I thought the business was going to die because this happened, but it ended up actually forcing you to build some infrastructure or do something that still services the business today? Is there anything that comes to mind?
I think many stories. But Nicola and I, we were completely aligned that we want to build this insanely member-centric company. So that had made these decisions more simple, not necessarily easy. But if we were looking at, okay, we have this problem with a product missing or a product being damaged or whatever, we would always start with what would the member like, and that has cost us a lot short term. So there's an eyeshadow palette that is there's a production mistake, and we end up sending that to 30,000 members in Denmark, for example. But then no discussion, we'll call that back, and that's our CFO is looking at it and saying, hey, this is just insane. We'll never be able to recoup that extra investment of taking that back. But us being, we don't compromise on the value we want to create with the members. This is really, really, really a members first company that has made those decisions more simple to take. But that's definitely been, we will never be able to still be running our cash flow. We did sign the deal, right? So you cannot, Clearco cannot pull back on this, right? But we have been running really, really close to the limit, and especially also due to some of these short-term investments. But I have no doubt that that is what proving Rodic sustainable as opposed to some of the other competitors we have in the market. That short-term investment has really pulled off, and we can see we have longer lifetime than our competitors, and we have also been able to we are more expensive than our competitors, but we also, I'm a bit biased when I say this, Daniel, so please bear with me. But we also we do offer better service, and we also invest more in the product itself. So this gives us the opportunity to work with higher value brand and have like real products instead of sample sizes or travel sizes and so forth. And we can see that has a direct impact on the lifetime.
No, I think that's we saw that impact as well as when we invested in deluxe size samples and good brands. Like that's what would just drive our scores up. And so on Clearco, it's mostly been Haran and Max and myself talking with Niels, and again, thank you to Jake at Silicon Valley Bank for making that introduction.
Really cool.
What's from a funding perspective, when you heard about us from Niels, what made you interested in working with us? And what do you plan to do with our initial tranche of investment?
I think what really set you guys apart is that you understand our business, right? So you can see it from this cohort perspective, and then Nicola, I'm a co-founder, and I will still hold plus 50% of the company. So we also all the time look at what are the cost of capital, and we're still burning money. So we still need also to raise money. But what kind of funding can take us to the next waterhole, and what kind of growth do we need to show in order to get the best terms with the lowest cost of capital at that stage, and a flexible solution like yours based on marketing, that really suits us at the moment, because we have so much control of our metrics. On the different channels, we know what is the CAC payback time, so we can, in an enlightened, sustainable way, deploy more money into the growth machine, and we can predict, okay, where will that take us, and what impact will that have on our valuation? So it's this is the perfect instrument. This is the perfect tool for us, and I'm not even getting paid to say this. this is really really spot on, because we have so much control of our growth metrics. We can see this is the CAC payback time on the various channels. So with the money we're getting from you, our plan is to triple our monthly marketing spend for where it is today to where it should end by the end of the year. And you guys will be a big part of that.
And we're incredibly excited to be partners with you in that. It's I'm vicariously living through you and what you're building on what I wish I had done a decade ago.
No. Now you're building a Clearco, so you don't have all that insane pains of having physical products on an inventory. So
there's always trade-offs. But it is nice that I don't have a box I need to ship in whatever, how many days. It would have been for us, we shipped end of the month, so 7 days. I would just be coming out from my nap from sleeping for 7 days.
Holy cow, man.
Well, I know we're coming up on time. We have a question, actually, my friend Laura. We have lots of people watching from around Europe today. And so, her question, the way I would reinterpret this question is, if you'd give advice to yourself when you kind of went on full time to the business and took over running it as CEO, is there anything different that you would have done or something you would have told yourself that you think would have helped you today as you scale?
I think, there's only two things that can really stop us from reaching the full potential of Goodiebox, and that is running out of money. But money, that is a commodity. The real challenge is talent. There's a constant war or struggle for talent. So just be insanely focused on people from day one, and hire above where you are today. So we can see Goodiebox have this curve, and one of my jobs is to constantly looking at hiring in front of that curve. I wasn't aware of that when I started, and I think that is one of the main things to. You can go back to Jim Collins and read about that. So, but one thing is reading about it, but really owning that, getting the right people on the bus from day one. That is key.
Amazing.
And having the professional background from a law firm where we all cloned. We all come from the same university. We all have the same ambition to be a partner. We all look alike, and then going into to a business where there's all kinds of different backgrounds. We all have, different drivers, where at law firms we're all the same. That was like a big challenge for me. And at best I had one hammer in my management toolbox, and that definitely didn't work on everybody. I wished I've also known that from the start.
Yeah. Well, now it's all about learning lessons along the way from your first company to growing this business.
Yes.
Well, maybe the last question I'd love to finish off on is, you said your restaurants are opening. I had the same question to to Michel earlier. What are you most excited to go eat for lunch or dinner today, now that you can go back into restaurants in Copenhagen?
Yeah, I've booked a restaurant this evening called Sanchez. That's a amazing Mexican restaurant in Copenhagen, and the owner and head chef, she used to work with Noma, so the world famous restaurant in Copenhagen, has been elected #1 in the world several times. But now she is heading her own Mexican restaurants, and they are just amazing. So I'm definitely looking forward to go there and have some great food, not just takeaway.
Amazing. Well, I'm incredibly excited for you, and I'm excited for the time. The minute I can get on a plane, I'll be doing a tour of all the new markets we're planning to launch into. And so today, thank you again for being part of our launch into the Netherlands. And just like you guys did, it's one of our key new markets that we've picked to expand into. Oh, look, we have Sanchez is amazing. So you made a very, very good choice. And again, I know I'm
Thanks,
super
Laura.
excited. Yeah, thank you. I'm super excited to be partners with you in your journey of growing Goodiebox and seeing some amazing success over the coming year. So
Thanks,
thank
Daniel.
you.
Thanks for the support.
I appreciate it. I'm sure we'll talk again soon. Hope you have an amazing rest
Absolutely.
of the day.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers. See you later. Bye. So to everyone else who is taking the time to tune in again, thank you so much. Today's an incredibly exciting day for us at Clearco. We met two of our amazing founders, Michel at Goodiebox at Dayclocks, and Rasmus at Goodiebox. And so I encourage you guys, for those who are just tuning in and learning about us for the first time, please follow us here on LinkedIn. Every couple of days, we run Founders Stories. You'll see more and more running on European time very soon. We have another one on, I believe, May 11th with one of our other new Dutch founders who've joined our portfolio, as well as a number of other exciting things that are coming across the pond. So again, we're incredibly excited to be investing over 100 million euros into Dutch founders and eventually European founders all across the continent. Please visit clearco.com if you're interested in applying for capital, or comment below whether you're watching this live or after the fact. Our team will be in touch to help you with any questions you have. So to those, to Kim, to Laura, to Hank, to all those who are watching and commenting, thank you so much. To our entire team for this amazing day. Launching a new country is quite exciting. So I want to say thank you all, and I'll see you all very, very, very soon.